I'm Kathleen Peters with KMP Travel, a Cruise Planners American Express franchise. Today I want to share with you my top tips for having a great European vacation, especially for the first-time traveler to Europe. After sailing and working on board ship in the Mediterranean with Princess Cruises, as well as working and living in Germany and just traveling every which way throughout Europe over the last 20 years, from car, train, plane, barge, bus, just about any way you can go, I have a passion for traveling in Europe that I love sharing with first-time travelers. For me, there are three main tips that you need to remember when planning a trip to Europe. Except you can't do it all in one trip. Because airfare to Europe can be a big part of travel budgets, the most common mistake first-time travelers to Europe make is trying to see everything in one trip. You'll either spend all your time traveling between destinations, or you will be exhausted and can't remember one city from another, and that's just not the way you want to remember Europe. Tip number 2, consider using a travel professional for your first trip. Online travel sites can be overwhelming, comparing 6, 8, a dozen multiple sites to find the lowest fare, the best accommodations, and not knowing the pricing reputation of overseas suppliers. It can be an overwhelming start to your trip. You will do better with an experienced travel professional that can narrow your choices and tell you the pros and cons of each option. Tip number 3. Finding the best European vacation depends on you. So we're going to take a few minutes to help you define what your personal needs, preferences, and personality is. I call this your travel persona. And once you understand that, it will make deciding between all the choices in Europe much easier. So get your pen and pencil ready, and we will define your travel persona in 3 key areas. The first area is your needs. Who are you traveling with? You going alone, with a friend, or with a group? Will you be traveling with kids, grandparents? Are there any mobility issues in your group? Second question is, what is your time frame? Do you have a week or less? That will make a big difference in your travel choices. Or do you have the luxury of 2 or more weeks in Europe? And budget. How much per person per day on top of airfare are you budgeting for your vacation? This can be anywhere from $150 per person per day up to $600 or more. Now let's look at your preferences. What's your main objective for this trip? Would you like to get an overview of an area with multiple countries? Hopefully so that you can come back at your next trip and spend a little bit more time in your favorite area or region. Or would you prefer an in-depth experience and spend significant time in one destination to fully enjoy and explore that culture and area? And lastly, let's look at your personality. Let's see where you fall on the following continuums. Number 1, spontaneity versus planned. Are you a completely spontaneous traveler that likes to make it up as they go? Or do you need a pretty solid, confirmed itinerary so that you know what's coming and can feel comfortable? Number 2, this continuum I call risk versus security. And my question here is, how stressful would it be for you to be stuck in a train station at 11 p.m. at night without a hotel? If this would stress you out, you may want to rate yourself closer to the security side of that spectrum. And lastly, how independent versus escorted or structured do you like to travel? An independent traveler can be, number 1, fully on your own. You're in total control of where you go and when you go, and feel very comfortable getting around completely on your own. Number 2, we call independent travel. And that has plenty of free time and plenty of choice, but you do have a preset itinerary. So you have a roadmap, a plan for your trip throughout Europe. And sometimes we can even have an escort meet you in each city and just facilitate you getting from one city to the next. but you have plenty of time in each destination to plan your own daily itineraries. And lastly is what I like to call fully escorted tours. This is when you have a local expert, a local guide that goes with you every step of the way. They take care of everything from your daily tours, meals, accommodations, luggage, and getting you from one city to the next. Where do you fall on that continuum? From unstructured to structured tours. Hopefully now you have a good idea of your travel personality, and maybe, more importantly, the personality of the people you'll be traveling with. We must consider both when looking at all your best options for Europe. So keep your answers handy, and we'll be exploring some wonderful options for you to choose the best fit for your perfect European vacation in our next video. I'm Kathleen Peters with KMP Travel, a Cruise Planners American Express agency.